My presentation is about pregnancy and childbirth in Trinidad and Tobago. So I will start off with the birth of the baby. So just bear with me, hold on. Right. So in Trinidad and Tobago, when a woman becomes pregnant, she's encouraged not to make an announcement of the pregnancy until the expectant mother is past the 3 months mark. This is because there is superstitious belief that mother and baby could be harmed by people, or people with jealous eyes could harm them. As pregnancy progresses, the expectant mother is encouraged to exercise by walking and stretching, as this is believed to help the mom with an easy birth. Expectant mother is encouraged to eat a healthy diet of green leaves and vegetables, drink a lot of herbal tea, which is believed to help with digestion, chest burn, or any other pregnant-related sicknesses. She's also encouraged to eat plenty of okra, as they feel the slime from the okra will somehow help during delivery. If mother does not get the food she craves, it is believed that if she touches her belly during the craving, the baby will be marked about its body. Women who live in deep countryside areas and rural areas in Trinidad and Tobago, there are large extended families and older family members, and they tend to have a big part to play in the pregnancy, especially when the woman is a first-time mom to be. This means ensuring that the expectant mother eats a healthy diet and avoids certain foods. Foods are mainly prepared by the older family members. Older aunties and grandmas massage the bump with coconut oil, which they believe will avoid stretch marks and also to settle and soothe baby in the belly. They ensure that there are not too many visitors in the home, as the older folks believe that they need to safeguard mother and unborn, again from evil eyes and people coming in late at night in the house. The expectant mother will join the local community clinic in the first trimester and will attend for checkup once a month thereafter. When she's nearer the birthing time, around 7 months, she will then attend clinic every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on any health concerns. Birth of baby. After birth of baby, mother is not allowed to go outside until 9 days after birth. She's not able to have a full bath until the 9th day and is encouraged to clean her private parts with hot herbal leaves and around her breast, her nipples. Mother is encouraged to band her belly with cloth so that it goes back to the original size. On the 9th day, mother is given a bush bath and a concoction of oils to drink. This is believed to help with passing out any old bruised blood or clots. Mother is encouraged to breastfeed, as this is always the first option of feeding for baby and is viewed as very important by the family unit. Mother may also be given herbal tea to promote breast milk. New baby comes home. So baby has their first bath on the 9th day and is massaged with homemade coconut oil made especially for the baby. During the massaging process, the baby limbs are stretched, babies turn upside down, and has a tummy rub. This is mainly done by grandma or older females in the household. Baby is not allowed to go out in the late afternoon or evenings, as they believe that the evening dew would give baby a cold or cause baby to become ill. A baby head should be covered at all times when going out, as they believe that the head is still soft. Baby has a blue bag pinned under their clothes. In this little bag or pouch is a piece of square camphor and blue. This is believed to stop baby from becoming sick or prevent any green eye or jealousy, which is also believed to cause sickness or what Trinbagonians call maljo. Baby is given young lime bud leaves or soursop bud leaves to aid with gripe and sleep. Baby is mainly breastfed and starts on soft food around 6 to 8 months. This is mainly boiled mashed pumpkin or potatoes. Baby joins clinic at 6 weeks. Baptism is very important as it's believed that if a child dies without being baptized, their spirit will not rest. Healthcare services. In Trinidad and Tobago, there are no perinatal services, so postpartum depression is not carefully monitored. However, once mother has given birth, she is visited at home by a community health nurse, and a 6 weeks checkup in which postpartum conditions can perhaps be detected. Community health nurse will then signpost if there is a need for social care or mental health input. Women may also see private doctors for help if they feel that there's any other issues related. And that's the end of my little Trinidad and Tobago pregnancy and childbirth clip. Any questions?
I love the coconut rub. I want one for when I have my children. Someone coming and rubbing my belly in coconut oil.
I wanted to ask about did you say a bush bath?
Yeah.
What's that
So
then?
I will tell you what I know because I was given one. So this bush bath is on the 9th day, they put this really big metal bathtub outside, and in that bathtub there's loads of different bush that they go and they rummage through, and they put it in the water and they mix this up, and the some of the leaves turn the water red. It's a bush called St. John's bush, and mainly your mom. Well, my mom done it, at my point. Your mom or your grandma or any older family, they're the one who will give that bath. So they get in the bathroom with you and they rub you down with all the bush and through the water from your head to your toe. So remember, 9 days you haven't had a proper bath. So yeah, so that's what the bush bath. But before the bush bath, they mix different oils. So they will put, in my one, I remember castor oil and some yucky, smelly oil. And they mix all of that together and you dung it down and then they give you the bath. So that's how it works.
So I wonder for those women who don't have their family and supports around, how they cope with that, not having those things, and if it means that they've missed something, or whether they think that something's not right or it's wrong. I don't know how I'm trying to say it, but if you don't get something that's traditional or something that's always happened in your family, how that might feel for someone.
Well, I have friends from Trinidad here who give birth, and they wasn't able to do some of the things traditionally, but on the end of the phone is always a mom or auntie they tend to call, and the auntie will say, well, okay, go down to Brixton and get this or get that, or improvise. But it is difficult for the ones who haven't got that. And if they was growing up because it's not, this has happened a lot in rural areas and countryside areas in Trinidad. However, if you go into the town, it might lose that tradition. So sometimes in the town area, some of the younger folks probably mightn't go through that ritual. So it all depends where you're from.
Yeah. Is there any other questions for Natalie?
Oh, nice.
Come on, we can't let her go away that easily.
Actually, yeah, I've got one question, Natalie. So the coconut oil, how do they make it? You said it's homemade. How do they make it?
Well, I could make it because I learned how to do it. You just grate the coconut and you put it in a really, really, really hot iron pot. And the coconut, what happens after time, it would start turning into oil. But it had to go through a process where it get really, really brown. And then after it got brown, then it start getting this oily bit. And then you leave it to settle overnight. Yeah.
Interesting.
You can make it for us, Natalie, then.
But this coconut oil is made, nobody else uses that oil. That is baby's oil. So yeah, that made them get ready for the baby. Yeah.
So I'm not getting
you know, Natalie, the coconut oil, it's really got a lot of good properties for a lot of things as well. Even like you can use it for cooking, for your skin, for your hair. It's so versatile.
Yeah,
as well.
It's quite common in the Caribbean. Caribbean people tend to use coconut oil a lot. It's something, since I go into school, you grease your foot until it shine like a torch and you go off to school with coconut oil. We didn't have creams and all these fancy fandango. It's always a good homemade coconut oil. It's quite common in the Caribbean. Bush tea is quite common in the Caribbean. So, you know, when a baby get unsettled and you have gripes, you know, the old folks wouldn't go out and buy gripe water like we have over here in the chemist. The old folks would get some lime bud or soursop leaves, and they draw it, and then they put a little bit in a little bottle and they give the baby, or they put a little spoon, just let the baby, you know, gargle that in the mouth. So yeah, it's quite common to go in these houses and not see gripe water. They use herbal stuff instead. So yeah.
Lovely. Any other questions? Okay, cool.
Okay,
we shall let you leave.
I will go check my inbox and see if there's anything there.
All right. Okay. Come back though.
There's nothing there for you, Natalie. There's nothing there for you.
Oh, well then, if there's nothing there, I could stick around then.
Okay, so Lena's not here and she's last, so it's my turn. Feel a bit nervous now. Right, I'm just going to share my screen. Let's see if I've got it ready. So I'm doing about Sikhism, which is quite easy because I am Sikh. And I try to make it as colourful because actually it's a relatively new religion, and actually in terms of cultures and traditions or religious things, there isn't that much around childbirth and things like that. So I'll just see if I can do from the beginning. I don't know if it worked for people before. Let me know if anything changes. Has it come up?
Yeah.
It's moving?
No, it's on the main. Now it is, yeah.
Okay. All right. So just to start really, this is just a bit of the overview. When I wrote its impact on perinatal practice, there isn't actually that much of an impact anyway, but it was to start with that idea really. So you'll find Sikhs who tend to come from the north of India in the Punjab, but generally you'll find them pretty much all around the globe really. We do get everywhere. So there's about 20 million Sikhs in total in the world, and obviously most of them live in that province of India. And in the last census, which is 2011, so it'd be interesting to see what the new census picks up, there were about 432,000 Sikhs in the UK. I actually thought there'd be more, to be honest. I thought we'd be talking millions or something like that, but it's not. So just talking about the area, I don't know if you can see the map and my cursor. This is the Punjab here. Is my cursor moving? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So it's just this small here, and before partition, it would have extended all into Pakistan. The Punjab was split into two during the partition year. So actually, when you see a lot of people from Pakistan, they will speak and eat the same sort of kind of food. So they'll speak Punjabi. It's just because they lived potentially across the border that there is now. So we're quite small up there. And this is our kind of most sacred religious place in our kind of Sikhism, is the Golden Temple, which is known as Amritsar, and it just sits about here on the border there. And you know, if you can go there at least once in your lifetime, that's you're meant to be really kind of blessed by it as well. It's an amazing experience, really. It's quite surreal to go there. So we tend to divide them into two groups really, so the baptized and the non-baptized, and these are just some of the ceremonies that you will have. So somebody who's baptized will go through the Amrit Sanskar ceremony, and they will basically take on the whole religious, it's like when you get baptized here, you take on that you're going to do these things, and you know, you're going to live by the values of the religion as well. So what happens when somebody decides to do that? So I'm not baptized in that sense. And the difference will be, you'll see the difference on that is that, so somebody who is baptized will go into the Sikh Gurdwara. We often say temple. Temples referred mostly for Hindu temples. Our places of all churches or places of religion. are called gurdwaras as well. And so when people say temples, it's really difficult sometimes to kind of distinguish what temple are you referring to, but it is probably the most popular used words. So if you take on this ceremony, this baptism ceremony, you are going to take on the Sikh faith and the principles around it. And that includes devotion to God, service to mankind, and fighting against injustice and defense of the weak. And these are represented by the Sikh symbol, which is known as the khanda. And this is what you'll see flying outside one of our gurdwaras, or you'll see people have stickers or on their necklaces or their clothes and things like that. And the symbol kind of represents two swords here at the side, a symbol of fighting for what is right. And then between them is a circle, this one, which is depicts the God is one. So it's without beginning and end. So once somebody gets baptized, they accept all of these instructions, and then they're known, admitted to what we call the Khalsa. So you may have heard that word, especially if you're kind of driving past a Gurdwara, they might say Khalsa Centre and things like that as well. So it now means that that person has to live by the these 5 symbols. So it's the 5 Ks is what we call it. And so they are Gis, which basically means uncut hair. So that's why I'm not baptized, because I've cut my hair. Ganga, which is a little tiny comb. I've got a picture coming up, and basically they wear it in their hair at all time, and that symbolizes discipline and clarity of the mind. And then often you might see somebody wearing a gurban, which is it's a little strap with a little dagger at the end. And that symbolizes freedom and justice. And I think there's been lots of new rules and laws that they're allowed to carry that in public, just because I know there's been lots of issues in the past with that. And then we've got the kara, which is, I've got one here, I wear mine. So this when I look at people and I'm not sure where they come from, if they're wearing a kara, I can tell that that's a Sikh person as well. So, and that's just worn on the right hand, not on my right hand, it's on my left hand today. And it reminds the wearer of God's strength and infinity. And then we've got the gacha, which is basically like shorts. So the men tend to wear, well, actually the women wear it. My grandma used to wear it as well, which are just like shorts that are emphasizes commitment to purity. Let me see if the picture comes up next. Okay, so you can see the shorts here. This is the dagger with the strap. Oh, gone too far. Uncut hair, the comb. It's not a great picture, unfortunately, and the steel bangle. And people often talk about the 5 Ks and things like that as a way of distinguishing or talking about the Sikh religion. In terms of pregnancy and childbirth, I tried to Google and just started trying to find out what information was out there, and it never really gave me much. And then I realised actually it probably isn't that much really, because it is a relatively new religion. It's number 5 in terms of world religions, newer religions, and Jainism is behind as another new one after Sikhism as well. So we've been around for 300 odd years or so. So Guru Nanak, which was basically the first guru, and so we have 10 gurus, and then so it finishes with Guru Gobind Singh, and then after the 10 gurus it was into a book, which is the Guru Granth Sahib. So basically there is no kind of guru or leader or anything like that now. It's all in our religious book. So when you go into a Gurdwara, you will see the book being read and everything is in there. And so there's nothing about, you know, you should have, you can marry more women or anything like that. They were very much about just one person. And every Sikh child is believed to contain a divine spark of the creator. So for a Sikh person, the point at which a baby is conceived represents a soul's entry into the world. And they believe that it's a sacred act that's carried out in the confines of a marriage that has been blessed in front of the Guru Granth Sahib. Now, you'll find in some Sikh Gurdwaras that they won't allow or won't give ceremony to mixed marriages and stuff. So there's more and more kind of, what's the word? there's more strictness really, so, but not every Gurdwara is like that. It's just some that just take it a little bit too far. Because I married my husband who's white and in a Gurdwara as well, and that was fine. But if somebody was to believe all of this and they didn't marry and just had a civil ceremony or something like that, they may feel they've done something wrong, or there may be other thoughts around that as well. And there's just a little verse from one of the chapters in the Guru Granth Sahib about in the mother's womb, life was enshrined and cherished. You were blessed with body and soul. So that's Guru Arjan, who's our 5th Guru, I think 5th, from the Guru Granth Sahib, which is our now existing leader, let's say. Family planning, there's no rules on family planning either. Oh, I've lost my screen, sorry. No rules on family planning. There's nothing about you can't use contraceptives or anything, and you can't abstain, that you must abstain. You can, yeah, do whatever you want, really. And then about sex determination, we often hear about people wanting male children. And some Sikhs are still kind of doing this. I must say they are still wanting to have a male child, and traditionally it's because that, you know, a male child more than a female is preferred because of the economic benefit and the continuation of the family line. And it's still to this day, I do see it in families where if they've had the second daughter and stuff, how they kind of talk about that and things like that. And in my family, I'm the 3rd daughter, and I remember my grandparents like kind of saying all sorts of things that maybe, you know, I shouldn't have survived and all that sort of stuff, and it would have been better to have a boy. And it's, you know, it's quite hard to grow up with stuff like that sometimes, and you think, oh, I'm not really wanted, but it's not meant like that at all. I think it's just because they want to carry the family name as well. So the hope is for a male child, but some people will go to the extreme of having sex determination as well. It's not something obviously we hear about so much, and it's probably not so much allowed. It's probably done privately as well. But there are campaigns out there that will advocate to, you know, be proud of having female children, and not, you know, lots of women. There's a website called Pink Laddu, which does a lot of that, talking about, you know, women, females are just as important as a male child as well. And it's a very old thing, isn't it? You hear about it from a long time ago, and so the gurus in our religion try to reverse that, and actually are really good in our scriptures about giving women a special status and actually being equal as well. But from the religious point of view, the sex of a child is preordained, and any interference should therefore be discouraged with that. Okay. Again, childbirth, there isn't anything special that kind of needs to happen during birth or around that time. People tend to pray to make sure the birth goes well and that both mother and baby are well. The mother may want to meditate themselves and recite Waheguru. Waheguru is something that we say, which is God is one, as a way to meditate, really, by chanting that sort of words. As with giving birth and having males in the room, but it's about modesty, really. It's a preference to be seen by a female health profession. It's not kind of mentioned in religion that it has to be a female or anything like that. And in case of a woman who's giving birth who is baptized and she's wearing those 5Ks, you've got to ask before those things are removed. And so, for example, a request for the underwear, maybe that you just keep it on one leg as well. It mustn't be removed. It's really, they have to wear it at all times. After labour, there's again, just encouraging the woman to rest and to recuperate. It's a cultural thing, it's not religious. There is no concept of that a woman who's given birth or having a period is seen as unclean as well, which is similar, which is in contrast to what you might hear in Hinduism and things like that, where if you're on your period you can't do certain things, or you have to go in a different room and things like that. There isn't anything like that around postnatal time. And then after the baby's born, a few days or so, they will go to the Gurdwara and present the baby to the Guru Granth Sahib and recite hymns and make some sacred pudding, and that's shared. So it's just a celebration, really. And then a naming custom will happen as well. So it tends to be, there's no time frame as such, really, but most people like to go around the 40th day after the birth in a very simple naming ceremony. I think there are more longer ones in here, but most people just go to this, and it's called a Namkaran. So a prayer is recited, and then the book is closed, and randomly the person, the Indian priest person, will open a random page and then choose the first letter from the top of the left page, which is used then to start the name of the child. So if it's a G, you start the name with a G as well. And the parents announce the name there and then if they have one in mind, or later they discuss it with the family. But actually some people do this without having the ceremony, and other family members will choose the name as well. So I didn't have this, apparently. My dad's cousin chose my name or something. And I've got a bit more to share about that one in terms of how names are. So this is just something to note for when you get referrals and you might see the name, because when I see a referral and it's got a name, I can tell if it's a Sikh name or a Hindu name, or a Gujarati name, or, you know, the name tells us a lot really about where that person's background, although that's becoming more and more diluted with different sorts of names. But you may have heard of middle names like Singh and Kaur. And so this was developed really to kind of get rid of this caste system that was pretty much very prevalent in Hindus, and still is today, really. So all of the male and females are given a middle name, such as Singh for males, which means lion, and for women it was Kaur, which means princess. So my name is Akvinder Kaur Bowler Emerson, and I am of course a princess. And they all have religious meanings as well. So for somebody who's named Baljit, it means mighty victorious. And then there's just a little bit of an example in terms of so Sikh names are unisex, so they could be for a female or a male, really. So to distinguish, if you were looking at something, Baljit Singh would tell you it's a male, and Baljit Kaur would tell you it's a girl. And some people also will kind of use their caste. So although there isn't a caste system, there is a caste system, because we know that religiously there isn't one, but actually traditional and cultural has kept those things going. So surnames belong to a kind of a class in the working kind of in the system of things. So this case of Baljit Kira is using just the surname and not the middle name as well. But that can lead to being, I couldn't tell you if Baljit Kira was a male or a female. So to help with that, they again did the Singh and the Kaur. So that would help to distinguish a male or a female. So and you can have that even if you're not baptized as well. So this then becomes Baljit Singh Kira. So it'll be interesting to see if you see Sikh names if you could recognise it, if it's a male or female from yourselves. How am I doing for time? Anybody?
It's 25 to 1.
I've got a little video which tells you a little bit about the name ceremony. It's about 6 minutes long. Have I got enough time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me come back to stop sharing. And I'll reshare again. I can see Natalie, your top of your head. Okay. No, I need to reshare, don't I? Oh God. You would think after all this time I would still remember to press.
Don't forget to click audio as well, Aki.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had forgotten. Sorry. Okay. Where is it? Include computer sound. Okay. Let me know if this works. Is it working?
Yeah.
My name's Harinder. Har means God. I understand my name in full means he or she of all strengths.
My name is Harchand Singh Grewal. Har is name of God. A chand is a mean moon, and Singh is lion.
This is my niece, Manpreet Kaur. Her name means the love of our hearts and minds.
My name is Aman Chopra, and my name is meaning is the peace. It's a peaceful environment, we can say that.
This is my daughter, Pia Kaur, and her name means beloved.
My name is Ravinder. Ra means son, and Indra means God. So it's the son of God.
My name is Ajmeet Singh. Ajmeet means today's friend, and Singh means lion. It lets everyone know that I'm a Sikh. When I was just 5 days old, my parents brought me to the Gurdwara, the temple, and I was named in a special ceremony called Namkaran, which means name-making. Obviously, I can't remember it, so I've come to the Gurdwara to find out exactly what happens. Babies are brought here because it's the center of the Sikh community and because this is where the Guru Granth Sahib, our holy book, is kept. It plays a very important part in the naming ceremony. My friend Harjinder Singh explains.
Whenever you enter the Diwan hall, as we call it, or the prayer hall, if you want to say it in English, you always see a throne-like contraption at the end of it. It is a throne, and on that throne sits the holy book. When it's not in use, when it's not being read, it is covered by wonderful kapra, by wonderful cloth. We sit on the floor, the Guru sits a bit higher.
Can you tell me a bit about the history and the importance of Guru Granth Sahib Ji?
The Guru Granth is the most important item in Sikh teachings. The Guru, the teacher, Granth, book, is our Pope, our Bishop, even our King. So whether you are dealing with a name-giving ceremony, as we're discussing today, or it is about a death or a marriage or what have you, the central point in the ceremony is always going to be the Guru Granth. The Granthi, the man who looks after the Granth, the book, in other words, he puts the Guru Granth Sahib on its side and opens it at random. Yeah? And then the hymn that you find on the top left-hand side of the page is the hymn that leads that ceremony or that day.
This is Pritpal Singh, Gurmeet Kaur, and their baby daughter Ganeev Kaur. Ganeev had a Namkaran here just a few weeks ago. There's no set time for the naming ceremony to take place, but it usually happens as soon as possible after the birth. So, what did you do on the day of your daughter's naming ceremony?
In a Sikh household, when a baby is born, when both the mother and the child, they are healthy enough, they are good enough to go to the local Gurdwara, we just go there and to have the naming ceremony done.
The whole family went to the Gurdwara to introduce the new baby to the community and to present her to the Guru Granth Sahib. We all bow to the book to show our respect, and it's never too early to learn.
We offered a Romala, a piece of cloth, to Guru Granth Sahib, that's Sikh holy scriptures.
The family usually gives a gift. It might be food for everyone at the Gurdwara to share or a donation of money. Pritpal's family gave a rumala. That's a cloth which is used to wrap up the Guru Granth Sahib to protect it when it isn't being read. The Granthi opens the Guru Granth Sahib at random, and the first letter of the first word on the page will be the first letter of the baby's name.
We were blessed with this time Gurpure Kirpa Tari. So the letter was G. At the end we decided Ganeev, which means a priceless worth. The first letter is Ganeev and the full name is Ganeev Kaur.
Sikhs are also given the names Singh and Kaur.
Sikhism believes in equality. Our 10th Guru gives a boy's name Singh, which means lion, and the girl's name Kaur, which means princess.
That will be very important because then the people will not get discriminated because their background or their class status by the surname. At the end of the ceremony, we were blessed with the Khara Prasad, which is a holy food, and it's like a small pudding, very sweet, but delicious.
The sweet taste is a reminder of God's blessings. Everyone is given a piece of Khara Prasad from the same bowl to show that we are all equal and all part of the same community, which we call the Sangat. And that's the Naam Quran. Sikh names are special because they're chosen with the help of the Guru Granth Sahib. And our names show that we are all part of the Sikh community, just like little Ganeev Kaur.
Okay, hope that was interesting. And that was filmed in Southall Temple. So if anybody would like to go, I'm more than happy to take you. I do like taking people along to get an experience of what it's like. And they do food and things like that you can have. So I'm happy to plan a little day trip. Let me go back to this. There's not much more left, she says. So I'll just go back to a little bit about breastfeeding. So it's really encouraged. And it's considered a very completely natural process and the best nourishment for a child. And there's no kind of breastfeeding duration or timing of weaning. It's a personal choice and not dictated by religion in any way. And there are, however, certain customs that may be carried out by some Sikh women, which may have clinical ramifications. So, for example, what you might find is that a Sikh woman might give birth and then return to her maternal home. So when a woman gets married, they tend to move in or to the area where the husband lives if it's like an arranged marriage. So, for example, somebody comes from, I don't know, Leicester, and then they marry their husband who lives in London. That woman might all give birth here, and then you might find that for 40 days, they will be in Leicester. So when we're doing follow-ups and arranging appointments, they potentially might miss them. And actually, if we don't know where they are, these things get kind of missed. Obviously, we need to know about transferring and things like that. It's a very common thing. And again, it's tradition and culture more than anything from a religious point of view. And it varies from family to family. So some people might not want to go for 40 days and things like that. The 40 days seems to be a very common theme across the world, doesn't it, in terms of lots of practices. I remember when I had my first son that I was going to do it. I was not going to kind of go out the ideas that you should stay at home and rest and recuperate. I lasted 2 weeks. I couldn't do it because I didn't have my family to help and support. So I just found it a lot harder. So I was definitely out there. It's too much to stay indoors, really. And what's the next one? So just some things that aren't about religion, but just cultural stuff, really. So you may have heard, and I know I've heard in other people's conversations about the belief in hot and cold foods. And this isn't about the temperature. It's just basically the effects of cooling or heating on organs, different organs in the body. So it's actually and it's not about the spice level or anything like that. So hot foods such as lentils, aubergines and eggs are thought to increase physical and emotional activity, whereas cold foods such as milk, white sugar, fruits and cereals have a calming effect as well. So that's the kind of thinking around those foods. A very common thing also is that family members will make this kind of these balls, and they're made from ground nuts and various other things, which I know they tend to say avoid nuts when you're breastfeeding because of passing things onto the baby with allergies and stuff. But actually, they've been doing it for years and years. And it's a very common thing. And it's basically to build strength and to give, energy. It's a bit like protein energy balls, really, is another way to see it as well. But just to let you know that they're usually from ground nuts, ground almonds and things like that. So it's just, if you're ever doing a postnatal visit and you see something, you might, I don't know if you want to check nut content and things like that, or they might not understand about nut allergies, but actually I don't fully know the kind of development of nut allergies through breastfeeding anyway. I should probably know. There's the role of Amrit, which is the holy water. So in this, in the Golden Temple, you see the water that surrounds it. All that water is called Amrit because it's holy water, it's blessed water, basically. And so you might find people have a bottle of water and they will bless it with the baby, put a little bit in their mouth as well, and also give some to the mum to drink. And you'll see little babies might have a little Sikh, the gara, the little bangle as well, as part of bringing them into the kind of family as well. But there's no time on that. It's just paternal choice, and you might get it as a gift from the paternal or maternal immediate family members as well. You might see it in gold as well. They tend to do it in gold at the moment as a gift, more than sticking to the steel that it should be. And then you might also, if you're ever looking at where the baby sleeps, you might see a glass of water or something metallic under a baby's cot. And these, again, are rooted in tradition more than religion in any way. And it's about older Sikhs may follow this, in which they pass, I can't read now, which may then be passed on to subsequent generations. So such rituals protect the baby from evil, kind of the evil eye, the evil spirits and things like that. You may also see babies with a little black dot or a black threaded around the neck or around their tummy or their ankle, and that's another way of just warding off evil kind of spirits and things like that, the evil eye. And then home visits after birth. Some family are really quite superstitious and won't allow other people to kind of come in and visit the baby and mother. And they're actually asked to go into a different room to shake off what they would call evil spirits and things as well. But everybody does them differently. And these things have evolved into whatever works for different families themselves. But it's also, they're aware that actually a newborn baby having lots of contact with new people and things, the risks of kind of germs and coughs and colds and kissing the baby, all those things, they try and avoid all of that. And actually, that's it. It's a bit of an abrupt end, but I really couldn't find it much more in that at all to kind of share. And I remember when Natalie was talking about things like gripe water and stuff like that, we were the same, really. Things would be made herbal or traditionally by like aniseed. Gripe water is just aniseed, and you'd boil your own aniseed and give drops of that as gripe water. That's what would have been used before. It's just things have become commercialized over the years, and actually there's a lot cheaper versions of it, so, and things like that. I don't have anything else to add other than that actually there isn't anything really strict in our religion, and it's a very equal religion. Men and women are seen equally, and there aren't too many things that you've got to do or not do unless you go for the full baptism, and you have to do all the 5 Ks and prayer in the morning and the evening, and serve basically is a lot of what you have to do. but that's about it. Childbirth and pregnancy, it was very, very little to add. It's more cultural stuff in that.
That's really interesting, Eki. Just a quick note about the nuts and breastfeeding. I think you can. There's no if mum's not allergic to nuts, I think they can still have nuts. There's no kind of evidence. So I think having nuts, because I know in our culture we do that a lot too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And I was yesterday when I was looking at the names and things like that, I was actually going to work out your name, Amrit, or Amit, I should say, and I did get it, and then I couldn't add it on. I can't remember what it means. Do you remember what it means?
Yeah, I do. So my name, annoyingly, actually isn't a Sikh name. My brother, who was 7 years old at the time, named me, and he suggested in this, so it was a room full of my family members, and he suggested Amit. I've got an aunt called Amrit, and I think that's maybe where he got it from. So this 7-year-old boy suggested Amit, which is a Hindu name, but my family just really liked it and went with it. But actually Amit's a boy's name. So I get a lot of funny looks from people. But Amit Kaur Jagdev translates as, and this is brilliant, infinite princess, ruler of the world.
I love it. And that's exactly what you are, Amit.
Oh, no. I'm Dr. Infinite Princess, ruler of the world.
Of course. And my name was, I was saying another family member named my name, and I was the third daughter. So I have 2 sisters, then a brother, and then it's me. I'm the youngest, and I was supposed to be a boy, of course, and I wasn't. And I was named by this person, Akvinder, or Ak. It's the first bit was Ak, and that means to have enough of, or had enough of. So they were basically saying they'd had enough of girls, which isn't so nice, really. But hey, I love my name anyway, regardless of them. So yeah, just the stories around it are quite fascinating, how things get named in that sense. So all Sikh names will have some sort of meaning, which is really interesting. Bav, I don't know if your name would have a meaning.
Yeah, I think Hindu names do have meanings. I think my name means sensitive or something like that. I think last time I checked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, but I know. Yeah, Indian or Hindu names, they have meanings.
Yeah. And my son's called Aman, which is peace, which is like one of the names in there. And it's I've got cousins, female cousins called Aman as well. And then my son's called Aman. And then my daughter's called Simran as well, which has, we've got a male doctor, Simran, in the team at the moment. So it's a male and female. And that means to kind of meditate. So if you see him in a corner meditating somewhere, he's doing what he's supposed to do with his name. So, but yeah, that's about it, really. Anybody got any questions? It's not as exciting as other ones. I remember just looking up the information and thinking about it, thinking, God, that's a bit bland, really. So I had to try and spice it up with nice pictures, but
I enjoyed it.
It was good. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting, Aki.
I wanted to say that the thing with the glass of water under the cot, it made me remember. It's funny how things just take you back. I don't know if it's all Caribbean, but in Jamaica, although I was born here, they put a little Bible or a New Testament in the cot to keep away evil spirits as well. And I remember that was my first one. I don't think I carried it on with the other 2, which probably are a bit evil, but
do that in Sierra Leone as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of superstition and things like that. And I grew up thinking, what is this? I'm not doing this. And now as an older person with my own kids, and I'm thinking, oh, I'll just try it. And I find myself trying some of these so-called superstition things, but actually they bloody work. Sorry. Oh, I shouldn't have swore. They do work. Or my mind seems to think they work. So psychological, really.
Obviously, that folklore is always based on something, isn't it? And even if it's way back, whether it's medieval times or whatever, there was a reason. And even if it doesn't work, what harm will it do? A glass of water, Bible, keep them safe.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things, isn't there? Like an upturned shoe, things like that. And,
yeah, we put our scissors with the Bible as well.
Okay. Yeah. And they things like if you accidentally step on somebody's toes, that means you're going to get visitors and stuff like that. It's really fascinating. So I'll share them as they happen one day and things. But yeah, if anybody wants to go to South Thor, I love going there, and it's a really nice Gurdwara. I was going to say it myself, temple then, and you get langar, which is the food and stuff like that. It's just a really nice experience. But I appreciate it's all the way in West London as well. So.
I think I've been there. Is it like a big grey building, really beautiful with gardens and yeah?
Yeah, it's the one that was in the video. It's exactly that one with the nice massive stained glass window. I think it's not got small gardens, but nothing big. But it's a really nice building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aki, do you know the one in, I don't know if it's Sikh or Hindu, there's a huge temple in Brent. I used to work in Brent, and it's absolutely enormous. I've never been on the inside, but from the outside, it's like a palace. It's beautiful.
Yeah. That's the Hindu one.
Neasden, isn't it?
Okay.
The Neasden.
Yeah, I've seen that. It is lovely on the outside, and
Oh
when
my
it's
God.
lit up in the night as well, it's really, really nice.
They really put Western churches to shame, don't they, really? They're beautiful.
It's beautiful inside as well, so it's good. Maybe
so
that
is Kur in your name, Aki? Kur.
Yeah, I don't use it as much really,
okay.
but it is there. It's in my kids' names and stuff like that as well. Even though my husband's white, he's adopted it into his email address, which is quite funny in itself. So just to kind of, and he wears a garao really, so I don't know what he was thinking at the time. So
Converted him.
not fully, because he still likes to have his beer and all that sort of stuff. Well, I'm not baptized, so he doesn't need to be either. But some faiths want, if you marry outside of your faith, they want the person who's is from the different faith to convert. So when it's not as strict like that as well, but some areas are where they're a bit extreme in that sort of thinking. But I realise we've kind of veered off a little bit, and actually, if there's no more questions, anybody else, we could move on to Lena. Are you ready, Lena?
Yep.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Cool.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Let me share my screen. I don't think mine's as exciting as yours is, Aki. But let me just get it open. Okay. Are you able to see that as a full presentation? Yeah, okay, perfect. So I've obviously done mine on Jehovah's Witnesses. And unlike Aki's, mine's obviously not born from personal experience, but it's something that I've just had to do a lot of digging around on the internet. And I guess I've got a lot of the information from the Jehovah's Witnesses websites themselves, because I think they've just got this huge library of literature on there. So they have not only resources that they like Jehovah's Witnesses resources, but they follow something called the Watchtower Society, which is, I think they're a publisher, and they publish all sorts of articles about the faith and about life in general. But I'll show you a bit about the website. So just a bit about the religion to begin with. So it's a branch of Christianity, and it started in the late 19th century and now has around between 8 and 9 million followers across the world. So it's quite a large, large group of people. They follow a translation of the Bible called the New World Translation, which I think was taken from the King James's edition. And they use the term Jehovah rather than the name God. And some people believe that this person is, that it's either one person, and there's some people who believe that this is a force rather than a person, rather than following the Holy Trinity, which is in other areas of Christianity. What members of Jehovah's Witnesses believe is that Armageddon is going to happen imminently, and they believe that most of the world's population will be killed during this period. And they feel that, and they believe that only a Jehovah's Witness will be saved during that. So they believe that it's their mission to share this belief across the world, and this is why they do a lot of evangelical work, where they go knocking on from door to door, reaching out to other people, and sharing their beliefs. And just in line with that, they don't follow pagan holidays like Christmas or Easter, or they believe in Jesus, but they believe that he came from Jehovah rather than being a representative of God themselves. Also, culturally, they don't salute national flags or anthems, and they also don't believe in joining in the military of a country. So this is just a picture of the kingdom halls. I think they all look quite similar. They're all quite plain. They try not to have too many symbols, and try just to be very functional. As I mentioned before, they follow this Watchtower Society literature, and what people are encouraged to do is attend about 2 meetings a week. Sorry, they call them gatherings. So yeah, meet twice a week at these gatherings, and they study the Bible, and they study the latest Watchtower Society literature. There are people who decide to leave the religion, and these people are known as people who are disfellowshipped, and it's seen to be a bad thing. And if people do choose to leave the religion, then people who are still within the religion are advised or are encouraged not to have contact with these people anymore, unless that you're a close family member and you're living in the same home and you're just not able to. And the witnesses also believe that you should minimize your socializing to people who aren't members. So if you are going to socialize, try to do it within the practice. Just a little bit about life after death and funerals. I know this is not specifically perinatal, but I was just curious about this. And they believe that at death, humans will cease to exist, so that the dead don't know or feel or experience anything. So they compare death to being to somebody being asleep, because there's no conscious activity whilst you're asleep. And so what they believe is that one day there is going to be this resurrection after Armageddon. So they don't believe that death should be feared, because it's not an absolute end, because if you're a Jehovah's Witness, you'll be held in God's memory. Funerals tend to be quite discreet and modest, and they try not to show off any social or economic statuses, and they try not to have any celebrations. So it generally tends to be quite a quiet and reflective moment, and hoping that there will be resurrection. So the one thing that always is repeatedly spoken about with Jehovah's Witnesses is their belief around blood transfusions, or I should say not accepting a blood transfusion. So in the medical population, certainly in medical school, this is something that we would talk about quite a lot, and it would always come up in exams and how you would manage this. But the refusal of transfusion stems from a literal interpretation from the Bible in this specific chapter, which says that one cannot eat from the bread of life, and accordingly members believe that accepting blood will then lead to them being eternally damned. And they feel that if a healthcare provider were to recommend a blood transfusion, they believe that they would be acting under the devil's influence. So thinking about how that's relevant to pregnancy, while bleeding, so in the latest Embrace reports, bleeding accounts for about 8% of all maternal deaths. But if you look at the bigger worldwide picture, bleeding is still one of the largest causes of maternal death. And I think in the States, it's like the second largest cause of maternal death. So looking out for the risk of PPH is huge. So I think there needs to be a very open conversation around the risks of postpartum hemorrhage, and what's always spoken about is whether somebody has a formal advance decision about refusing life-saving treatment, or whether somebody has a lasting power of attorney for them to refuse life-saving treatment for the person who has the hemorrhage. But what they always try to do is look for what options might be available, because different witnesses will maybe see things slightly differently. So there are some people who will accept blood transfusions. They are definitely in the minority of the witnesses, but you will maybe still get some people who will accept components of blood. Some people might be a little bit more open to accepting derivatives like clotting factors or albumin or Ringer solution, that kind of thing. But again, I think there's quite a big split. I think it's like 50-50. Whereas something like intraoperative cell salvage, which is where they suck the blood from the patient, which is kind of like spilt out during the operation, clean it, and then give it back to the patient during the operation itself, seems to be seen as acceptable by the vast majority of people who follow their faith, but not everybody. There are no actual specific customs relating to the birth itself, though. So whether somebody chooses to deliver vaginally or by a C-section, there doesn't seem to be anything specific. With regards to family planning, so I guess if we think about this being a branch of Christianity, a lot of the beliefs will be similar to those held in other areas of Christianity. They believe that contraception is morally unacceptable, despite the Bible not discussing birth control directly. So a lot of people still do believe that it's personal choice. However, they do believe that human life begins at conception, so abortion is not considered to be acceptable. Breastfeeding, there is some mixed views out there about breastfeeding. So some people believe that during the process of breastfeeding that some white blood cells might pass through into the breast milk, and for that reason some people do choose to avoid breastfeeding. But in the Watchtower Society literature, they very much encourage breastfeeding, and they largely follow the World Health Organization advice, which I thought was really really quite encouraging, and they strongly believe that that people should be making use of a provision lovingly made by the creator of humankind. And there was a very pro breastfeeding article in there. So I'm just going to maybe I'll show you this afterwards. So the Jehovah's Witness website, and about the information that they've got on there, but they have such detailed advice and publications for almost every single aspect of life. You can probably see that on your screens about I've just put about how to be a good parent there, and they break it down into every step, thinking about patterns for your child and setting expectations, and give very specific instructions. I'll see if I can just open this. I did find their website fascinating. Maybe not, maybe I'll come back to it. And I think what they also try to do is try and link it back to the Bible at each stage. So there's this one chapter on how your family, so there's this manual on how your family can be happy, and there's this specific chapter on how babies change your marriage. And I just found it really interesting about how how detailed it is, really, and how instructional it is for both the mother and the father of the baby. And yeah, I've just quoted what was on their website. So as a new mother, you naturally focus your attention on your baby. However, your husband may begin to feel neglected, so don't forget that he needs your attention too. With patience and kindness, you can help him feel needed and involved in caring for your child. And then further down in the paragraph, there's tips for what the husband can do to help support his wife and help encourage the bonding and the breastfeeding process, which I thought was nice. This was just what they said about educating children. So they don't have any cultures as such that I could see about customs around the early postnatal period, as Aki spoke about with Sikhism, and as we know about in several other religions. But a lot of what they try to do is educate children about the religion from a really young age. So even when the mum is pregnant with baby, they encourage that the mum talks to her bump about the religion, about Jehovah. And then at every stage of childhood, there is something on their website about Jehovah and how to speak about Jehovah in a way that is acceptable for the children. Like there are colouring books, I think, on their website. There are children's stories, things for teenagers. You know, there's lots of stuff on there. So they really try to promote the religion at every stage of growth. I thought I'd just very briefly look at their views on mental illness as well. So so generally the culture is quite open to mental illness and believes that it's important that that people do seek help for their mental health, and that they do follow treatment that is prescribed by qualified mental health professionals, and they give lots of generic, useful information on their website. And I felt like there was some good psychoeducation there, actually. They do believe that spiritual health, though, is vital for dealing with mental illness, and this is the one paragraph that they put about spiritual health, that the Bible doesn't indicate that spirituality cures medical problems, but they feel that many families still derive comfort and strength from it. So again, tries to bring the Bible into that too. And that's it. So quite short in comparison to other people's. Oh, can you guys still see my screen?
Yep.
Can you see this website? Has it changed?
No, not yet.
Okay. Let me see if I can share this on the screen. It's just the Jehovah's Witness website.
It was good, actually. I was looking at Sikh websites, and there weren't many, so I'm glad this one has a really good one.
Thorough. So just, this is the bit about raising children and how to be a good parent, and they really try to tackle all sorts of issues and think about all sorts of, different concerns that a parent might have.
Yeah.
How to be resilient, how to teach your kids about resilience. I thought that was quite good. And then just, it just goes on and on and on. But there's, this stuff about marriage and family, about teenagers, about children. You can access all of this for free on their website. They've got lots of information here about children. So they've got songs, they've got podcasts on here, they've got videos, illustrated Bible story, the colouring that I said, how you can teach your children about the religion. So yeah, I think if people have any specific questions about the religion, I would recommend looking at just the Jehovah's Witness website.
You look impressed, Lena. You're going to convert yourself.
I was thoroughly impressed, actually, because I've never come across this for any other religion before. I know I've certainly never seen a Hinduism one like this before. So, yeah. I'm not sure if I've got any answers, if anyone has any questions. But,
any questions for Lena? Let's have at least 5.
Lena, I wanted to ask, with the blood transfusions and stuff for the adults, which is their call, but then if they have a child and the child needs it, that's when it becomes really difficult, doesn't it? Because they don't want it, and then it goes to court, and I've seen it in the news where it's just really hard.
So I had a look at that, and I didn't realize that you'd be interested, but so I was looking at some of this, and I think it officially went to court before the Children's Act came in, and when it went to court back then, the court said that you should go ahead with the blood transfusion. So I think a lot of people then went ahead. They use that philosophy in future cases, but each time that a parent refuses to allow their child to have life-saving treatment, it needs to go to court every time for a decision to be made. And I think in the vast majority of cases, I think they have gone on to treat these children.
And safeguarding, I'm assuming, is raised, of course, isn't it, with these?
I guess so.
Is that the same, Lena, for if a woman is pregnant and she goes into labour and needs a blood transfusion or needs...
No, it's different because the woman will be an adult and she'll have capacity and she'll be consenting. And if she has made an advanced decision to not have any life-saving blood treatment or transfusion at all, then that has to be adhered to and followed. And even if it gets to the stage where it's felt that the woman then lacks capacity to make a decision in those moments, what they would then be looking for is the lasting power of attorney for health, who I'm assuming would be the person's partner and who probably would also say the same thing. But if both of those things are in place, then a healthcare professional couldn't go against their wishes to provide that treatment. And in those cases, there have been cases where both the mum and the baby have died as a result.
Yes, yes, I was going to say, because when I was a health visitor, there was a lady that she died, but the baby survived, and it was because she didn't want a blood transfusion. So they managed to save the baby, but she died, and it was really, really a sad case.
Yeah. And I guess, you know, thinking about the psychological support that these children and families might need later on, you know, I can imagine it must be quite a lot. But I also wonder whether whether Jehovah's Witnesses would actually seek that within their own community rather than seeking it from mental health professionals, because you really don't hear much or see much from this community.
No, I think, Lena, if I remember correctly, and this is from the days when I was working in peds, is the issue becomes, obviously often a blood transfusion is not something you can wait to go to court for a lot of the time. You've got to go, it's an emergency situation. And in peds, you're advised that if it's life-saving treatment, you've got no choice, you give the transfusion. But like you said in your presentation, then those kids are kind of excommunicated from it makes things incredibly difficult, because you think, well, actually, you know, you think you're saving a life, but how much harm are you actually causing by, you know, having this kid rejected from their family potentially?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it sounds like what you're saying is up until the baby is born, it's mum's decision what happens. After the baby arrives, if baby arrives in distress and needs immediate medical attention, or the baby will die, I assume that a doctor will have to decide in that case what they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they distinguish between children under the age of 12 and then children over the age of 12 as well. So obviously with babies, and I think most of the issues are where children are quite young. So I guess as children become teenagers, it will become more complicated as well. You know, if a child might want to have a transfusion versus if their parents don't, well, you know, there's going to be all sorts of complex issues, I guess. But yeah, I think eventually it goes to court with children.
Yeah, it's just interesting how the dynamics can be affected. I had a friend who in secondary school was given a jab, and it turned out that him and a few of his peers had a really adverse reaction to it, and they ended up in ICU for a period of like almost a month. Basically, their brains swelled up and they had other problems. His mum had transferred to being a Jehovah's Witness, and she had to basically decide on her son's life or her faith, and she denounced being Jehovah's Witness so that he could have the blood transfusion. But you could see how it really affects the family dynamics, because I don't want to get too political into it, but I just kind of feel that a lot of the people that I've met who've joined Jehovah's Witnesses have usually been single mothers who want that support, and they go there with their children, bring their children into the mentality, but it becomes a situation where the kids feel trapped. A lot of the children that I know that have been raised in Jehovah's Witness families had no say. There's a lot of resentment about, birthdays being missed, not being able to go to friends' parties and things like that. And it's quite interesting, just the impact that it has on the family in general.
Yeah, I had a similar one with friends from school. They were Jehovah's Witnesses, and she went for a really hard time, as you said, not having birthdays and not being able to play in the local netball team and stuff like that. And yeah, she really had a hard time getting her head around what her faith was. But then she had children. She's got 3 children, and she brought them all up in that same way. So it's really difficult to kind of pull away from it when your family's still living it. And yeah, so it was really difficult for her to put them in that culture, but that's all she knows and that's all she knew. So although she had a really hard childhood, she still made her children Jehovah's Witnesses as well.
And I guess that's because, like, most of the time as a Jehovah's Witness, you're very limited to the circle of friends that you can keep and who you can be around. So you're literally just in this small circle, and the fear of losing that small circle that you have after all the other people that you might have probably like just completely disregarded or had to say, I can't speak to you anymore because of this situation. It's quite a lot.
She fell pregnant really early after we left school, so I know she really went through a really hard time as well with being accepted again. So they really did shun her from the church and her friends and stuff. And apparently she had to really beg for forgiveness to be accepted back into it. So I suppose that must have been really difficult for her as well, and not wanting her children to kind of go through that kind of experience as well.
And I suppose it's different, isn't it? So if you are brought up in that religion, to actually convert into that religion when you're older, I think there's a bit of a difference as well with that, because I know that some as adults may convert to that religion, and I think that they do know that sort of like blood transfusions are not not allowed. But I think when you're put in that position, particularly if it's your child and this is life or death and you're in that, then it does change your decision, doesn't it? And I can understand why some will renounce their religion and let their child have a blood transfusion, because it's very different hearing it and agreeing to it and actually being in that situation. So I can see how that would be really a difficult decision to make. Yeah. And you can see why it's such a close-knit religion, like community as well, because if they are very limited to what they can do, they must really hold on to their community and the people that have the same faith as them. That makes sense.
Yeah. I guess one of the reasons why I did this is because I do have a patient who left the Jehovah's Witness religion, FB. And so I was just curious to think about, what it must be like for the family dynamics, because her mum is a strong believer in the religion. She does the evangelical work. I don't know if she still does it to this day, but she certainly did do it throughout FB's childhood. And then I just wondered what it must be like for FB to have left the religion at some point, and what that might have been, what that might have meant for their family dynamics going forward. But she seems to still have a good relationship with her mother, and I guess that falls in line with the religion saying that you can still keep in touch with close family members, even though she doesn't live in the same house. But yeah, so it sounds like people are willing to be flexible, and I wonder whether that's just an evolution of the religion over time.
Okay, thank you for that. That was really interesting. So Any other questions in general about the presentations today? Can I just please remind everyone to please save them in the cultural file on the shared drive? There are a few that are still not there from them that we've had, so it would be good if they could go there, please. And just to mention, I was asked about this, what are we doing as a perinatal team? What are we doing to reach out to other communities in our work again? And you know, I can say we do these sessions, but actually we probably need to think about a bit more outreach and how we target different communities. Well, not target, it's not the right word, but just engage them as well, because I'm getting regular questions really about what we're doing. So I know there's lots of work to do, but if anyone has ideas or if they come across anyone that would be important to engage to start conversations in different communities, let me know and we can see what we can do.
Actually, just in the first, I think in the first instance, just as a, because we've got our the PEFs, is that what we're calling them now up here? That they
I'm just going to stop recording. Let me just stop recording. I don't think we need to record this bit.